and of course qualifying is when it really counts. So practice here, well, it's what it says on the tin really, it's practice, just getting your car sorted out and your driving sorted out one last time before you go for the real attempt, which is qualifying, and that of course qualifying will determine what position the cars start the race from on the starting grid. That's not to take away from the importance of a good practice session, because this is the last attempt or the last chance you will get to feel your car is controlling and how it's going to feel on a hot lap. Yeah, go ahead.
I would like just to apologize with our viewers because we had some problems with the live stream and actually started a new stream now, so we're back live on Facebook, YouTube and Twitch.
Okay, jolly good. I see them. Jolly good. Right, so back to the actual session. Keith Camilleri's on a flyer. He's going about 3/10 up on his actual best, and this would put him second at the moment if he was to hold this gap to his personal best. So let's watch Keith Camilleri here and see what he can do in the second and third sectors. It's just coming to the end of the second sector now. It's still really quick. That's one of the quickest second sector times I've seen in a while. So Keith Camilleri is on a quick lap here, and let's see if he can put his car to second. I think first is just out of the question here, but second is very much doable. Out of the final corner he comes, and oh, it's a session best in sector 3 to put him less than half a second away from Hani Al-Safi. It's a 1:24.924, and Keith Camilleri becomes the first driver in a very long time to be within half a second in terms of lap times of Hani Al-Sabdi. Now, Keith Camilleri could definitely be a driver to look out for. You can start second on the grid, you can win the race, because all you need to do is get ahead of the at the first corner or on the first lap, and then stay ahead, which is easier said than done. But if Camilleri can replicate that for qualifying, or even put himself ahead of Al-Sabdi, he will be in a very good position, and he's definitely a driver to look out for. He's actually going quicker still. So on this lap, he's going quicker still. He has put in one of the fastest first sector times I've seen yet. And do not switch the camera away from Keith Camilleri here, because Camilleri is flying quicker and closer to Hani Al-Sabdi. Again, it's a quick second sector. This is almost perfect so far in terms of the lap time. Now that might be it for this track, for this lap rather. And all of the momentum that he needs. Let's see as he crosses the line. It's not quicker. So that bad third sector, I'm afraid, cost him that lap. Challenge Hani Al-Sabdi just yet. Circulating, but none of them are getting very close to their personal best, except for Josef Kalea. So Kalea, who I believe spins up the rear tyres a little bit out of the it's called the second corner of the chicane, and he is about to improve on his lap. He does, but he doesn't go into 10th. So Kalea still has to settle for 11th. He's about a second and a half off the pace here, so not his weekend just yet, but it's good to go out onto the track and run around for a bit of experience. I would, no matter how far off the pace I was. Is what these drivers are doing. Okay, there aren't actually many drivers out or on track at this precise point in time. Al-Sabdi, Camilleri, Grech, that's both Grechs, and so being very, very popular at this precise point in time. And the order, as we enter the final 5 minutes of practice: Eric, Schaefer, Tavern, Samut, Grech, Baruki, Falzen, Terence Grech 6th, Alessandro Grech 9th, and then it's Barbara and Kalea. He is on a quicker lap than his personal best. He is up in the first sector by about a tenth, although runs out and over the grass, and that might hamper his lap time a little bit. So let's see if Baruki is still up. And now going on to a long straight is really a point where you do not want to get out over the grass, because that can really restrict your momentum for the entire straight. And indeed, it's quite a poor second sector from Justin Baruki here, so he'll need to gain back handfuls of time in the third sector if he wants this to be an improvement on his personal best lap time. The final corner now, and it was not an improvement, so he stays 7th for now with just under 4 minutes of the race remaining. Has gone relatively quickly in sector 1 here. He's about equal to his personal best, actually. So if he can salvage a good time from the second and third sectors, this could still be quicker. He's come out of the pits about a lap or two ago, so just flying laps since then. And what's the lap? Well, it's a quick third sector, and I believe the lap improved a little bit, but he still stays in third position, so isn't quite able to challenge Keith Camilleri just yet. Was up in the first sector, but I believe he's made another mistake here, because he's about 6/10 off his best. Although Clinton Falzon was also going to be up on his best, but he has also run over the grass. So a couple of drivers making mistakes on potentially quicker laps at this point in time. In practice, so mistakes don't really matter that much. They're annoying for these drivers. He's on another flyer, a personal best in sector 1. Sectors 2 and 3, right? This could challenge Hani El Sabdi. He's about a tenth up. A few seconds ago, he was about 3/10 up. And if he can regain that, he'll still have the momentum from it. Then he could well. In fact, he's got a car ahead of him on track, and that might well be providing some good slipstream opportunities as he heads down this straight here. It's a bit far in the distance, but still another quick sector 2 time as well. See what Keith Camilleri's lap is going to be as he rounds the final corner. Will he be able to challenge Hani El Sabdi this time through? It's still 3/10 off. It's 2/4 of a second off, and he's going to have one last chance now. So he's on his final attempt at knocking Hani El Sabdi off that top spot before qualifying. So now, anyway, because this isn't qualifying, so it doesn't affect the grid order. But not much time left in the session now, so anyone who wants to set a quicker lap needs to start setting it now. And talking of setting it now, Keith Camilleri sets a session best in the first sector. So Camilleri sets a first sector which is quicker than Hani El Sabdi's best. That's a good start. What can he do in the second sector? If he can do the same thing or similar, then he will be right on course for a last-minute blast out of the water for Hani El Sabdi. Let's see what he puts in the second sector. I have the feeling this race is really going to be between El Sabdi and Camilleri. It's not a quicker second sector. He's only about a tenth off there. He could still keep gaining. He was 3/10 up at one point in that corner there, and all he needs to be to beat Camilleri is 3/10 up on his previous lap. Let's see what it is as he rounds the final corner. It's not up. It's an improvement in terms of his personal best lap time, but it's still 0.167 off Hani El Sabdi. Camilleri's last chance gone. Sabdi is in the pits. Can anyone else improve? I believe that El Sabdi and Camilleri are definitely going to be the drivers who top this session here, and I don't think that anyone is improving on their laps. We have one last driver I see on track who could go quicker than their lap, and that's Alessandro Grech. He's about a tenth down at this precise point in time, but if he pulls something out of the bag in the final sector, he's actually set a personal best in the second sector. So Alessandro Grech could very much go quicker on his lap here. Taking the S's there because he's dropped back a bit. I don't think he's going to go quicker. He didn't indeed. So that is the is pretty much the end of the session here. We still have another driver to cross the line, who is Terence Grech. So the two Grechs are going to be the last two to cross the line. Terence Grech is currently in 6th position, going up on his time either. He set a personal best in Sector 2, but his Sector 3 was off, and that is the lot. So Hani El Sabdi tops it from Camilleri, Schaefer, Tabone, Samut, Grech, Baruki, Falzen, Alessandro Grech, Barbara, and Kalea. So that is the order after practice. Right, we are now going in about 40 seconds into a qualifying lap session rather. Beside the orders, actual main grid.
Sure, as you well said, Joshua, we saw some good times and really close times in the practice session. Now we'll see in 10 seconds, like we're going to the qualifying session. We'll have 15 minutes of qualifying. Following that, we're gonna go for 2 races with a reverse grid of 15 laps. So we'll enjoy this 15 minutes of qualifying now, and we'll see who'll manage to top this grid today.
Well, the session started. It's been go for about 10 seconds, and the first drivers out of the pits are heading out now. We've got several drivers choosing to head the field around here, and I believe that at the front of them all will be. So Baruki out first. He will therefore be the driver going to set the, providing he does keep it, is Camilleri, followed by Brandon Tabone. So a couple of drivers on track now. Omar Barbara is also out and has just come through the first sector. Drivers again, so obviously we gained another. I believe it was Kevin Samut. I think Kevin Samut we lost in the last sector, but session rather, but he is back again. Yeah, Kevin Samut back in the race weekend, and that means that we extend our entry list from to 12. Tell you what, this is quite an amazing feat, but despite that being an outlap, and again counting it right from the start of this session, Justin Baruki's first lap out of the pit, about 2.5 seconds off Hani El Sabdi's lap in practice, and that's very good showing from Baruki, because he was flying laps than most drivers do on their entire. Many drivers do in their entire. So, Baruki is the first to go through Sector 1, but Keith Camilleri is the fastest in Sector 1 so far. Camilleri has put in the first purple of the session to go faster than Justin Baruki in the first sector, and he is for pole position here, as they all will be. But Camilleri and El Sabdi definitely the two protagonists so far. Someone else springing from the back. Prize pole, but I can't see that happening just yet. Camilleri has also now gone purple in the second sector, so that's a session best in the second sector so far. Not that anyone has actually set a flying lap here, but Justin Baruki is going to be the first driver through to set a flying lap. It's 126.499, which is immediately smashed by Keith Camilleri's 125.200. Which puts him 1.299 ahead of Justin Baruki, and now Brandon Tabone and Omar Barbara go second and third. So that is the order so far. Hani Al Sabdi is quickest in the first sector. Then let's watch Hani Al Sabdi as he is coming around at the racecourse to put in his first flying lap. And so far, flying is the key word. Never mind, he's gone slightly wide and has run over the grass, and that might well stop him from taking provisional pole on this particular lap. We'll see what the lap can hold anyway. He'll want to put down a banker lap just to kind of put himself ahead of the drivers who make big mistakes or don't put in laps at all, and then he wants to go for quite a bit of time on that lap there. What Al Sabdi's lap is going to be like anyway. It's a slow second sector, about whole second off Keith Camilleri's, and Al Sabdi's lap there, despite going quickest of anyone in the first and third sectors, lost out in the second sector, and he goes third. Now Keith Camilleri is up in the second sector. He's set a session best, and as he crosses the line now, it's a session best in the third sector and a session best on the order as well, with a 1:24.626. Still not quite as quick as Al Sabdi's lap in practice. Second has gone Richard Schaefer. Third has gone Brandon Tabone. Justin Barucki. So that is the order so far. Is again flying in the first sector. He is set fastest in the first sector so far. That lap, you can see on the delta time, or I can see on the delta time, that Al Sabdi, as he's going down the straight, is gaining his last lap when he lost all of that momentum. He's gained about 0.6 of a second, possibly 0.8 of a second so far on the straight, and he's set a session best in both the first and second sectors. If he can make it a clean sweep and go fastest in the third as well, then this will be an amazing lap from Hani Al Sabdi. I'm very interested to see what it's actually going to be. He's 1.3 seconds up. Oh, he had a slight slide, but he's still set pole with a 1:24.539. That's provisional pole. Didn't go fastest in the third sector. Did set his personal best, but not session best, after he had a slight slide mid-corner. And I was, didn't have to for that. But Al Sabdi is now at the top of the order by 0.087 from Keith Camilleri. Following them is Richard Schaefer, Brandon Tabone, and Justin Barucki to make up the top 5. Is on his quickest. He is coming through the second sector now, just entering the third sector over the last few corners, and he is currently in 10th. He was 9th at the end of practice, and he doesn't improve. Hani Al Sabdi is quickest again in the first sector. That's a session best in the first sector. Let's keep our eye on Hani Al Sabdi here. It's a 31.8 in the first sector. You don't get much quicker than that, or any quicker than that. I think that is the quickest we've seen out of both of these sessions so far. Although he set a second sector time, which is about 2/10 off the pace. Although, he's run over the grass. He's run over the grass again. If he'd just done his final sector without having a big slide like he had last lap, he would have gone up on his lap, I believe. But instead, he ran over the grass slightly and didn't go up, leading. Although he wants to get as far ahead in terms of lap time of Keith Camilleri as he can possibly do. And then Tabone is going up on his lap. He's currently 4th. Can he get himself up into the top 3 on the grid? Currently, it's a quick sector 1, sector 2. Not highly impressive, but not bad. 3 to go. It is an improvement, but he doesn't go quicker than Richard Schaefer. So he improves by about 0.2 of a second, but does not go quicker than Richard Schaefer. Now has, or no, doesn't have a spin. Someone else has a spin right in front of him. Schaefer? Yeah, it was. 3rd and 4th on track there. Guys, no, Al Sabdi's in the pits. Camilleri is still trying to improve on his lap and get in with a chance of putting the car on pole position. His first sector time's looking okay, not blisteringly quick. He runs over the curb on the exit a bit, and that's going to restrict his traction because, of course, he put 2 wheels up, and Grech is going quicker than his best. He's in 6th at this precise point where he always spun. So Terence Grech was going up. He was going about 2 tenths up. He spun and he's into the wall. So Grech spins into the barrier, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him go back to the pits now because his tyres will be absolutely shredded after sliding sideways. And of course, these tyres get big flat spots on them when they have big slides like that, and that can often make the car quite undrivable. And of course, those flat spots often increase in size as the session goes on, because every time you brake, it flat spots, and the tire stops in exactly the same place, and just makes the spot bigger and bigger. But Grech obviously electing to stay out for now, interestingly. By Kevin Samut just then, actually. Samut set a lap 5,000ths of a second off Terence Grech, but Grech is going for another lap now. Clinton Falzen is up on his lap in the first sector. So let's see. Going to be like, don't run over the grass. Runs over it slightly. I was doing exactly that. It was a 32.4 in the first sector, which is about 6 tenths of a second off the quickest guys. But for Falzen, in terms of his lap, he's also set a personal best in sector 2 as well. So this is Falzen, and the car ahead of him on track, or in the order rather, is Kevin Samut. So if Falzen can get himself ahead of Kevin Samut, then position he doesn't, so he gets himself very close but doesn't go ahead. Going quicker was going quicker. He was quicker in the first sector, although has had a bit of a dodgy sector 2, losing about 2 tenths, and he might well be off his best lap this time around. There he comes. It was not an improvement. Going quicker, he is about 3 tenths up actually on his best, and that might well put him into 3rd position ahead of Richard Schaefer. Has a big slide and he's lost it. So that, unfortunately, is the end of that lap from Brandon Tabone. A lap that did actually promise quite a lot, and now he's going to stop the car and pit it. And that lap promised quite a lot from Brandon Tabone there, so it's quite a shame, a big shame to see that he's had to abandon it. But of course, you have to be a clean driver as well as a quick one in qualifying. So does still a genuine mistake. What about Clinton Falzen? He's just going through the chicane, and he's 2 than his best. If his current lap is right, he might actually challenge for 5th or 6th. So let's see what Falzen does. He's 8th at this precise point, and he does go 5th. So a good lap from Clinton Falzen, and the top 5 order is now Al-Sabdi, Camilleri, Schaefer, Tabone, Falzen, with 3 minutes of the timer left to run. He's going very quickly in the second sector. The timer, interestingly, is indicating that he's about 17 seconds up on his best, but that's not the case. So something's having a bit of a glitch there. But anyway, Alessandro Grech is rounding the out, and it's going to be 9th. So he does move up 1 place ahead of Omar Barbara. But Barbara is on a quicker lap himself, and Barbara might well take that place back again. He needs a good final sector improvement. It was, but he didn't manage to get ahead of Grech. Meanwhile, Hani Al-Sabdi has gone even faster up the front of the order with a 1:24.421. Still not quite as quick as his practice hot lap, but still he is now 0.105 ahead of Keith Camilleri in second. But we've seen from practice that Camilleri can get it in to the 1:24.5s. So Al-Sabdi's not quite safe yet, and Camilleri will have one last flying lap. However, Al-Sabdi does set a session best in the first sector, and it's a 31.6 in the first sector. That's flying. My goodness. He's really on the limit here as he runs it over the curb, but not onto the grass. Brilliant. Brilliant line through that corner for Hani El Sabdi. He's about 3/10 up on his best so far, and he's getting a slight slipstream from that car ahead of him on the straight. This is looking very, very good for Hani El Sabdi as he enters the final sector of the course. Now, it looks as if he lost about a 1/10 of a second in the second sector, but he's still about 4/10 up on his best. This might even get into the 123s. Let's see what it is. He's just coming around the final two corners now, the right-handers. Astonishing lap. It is, oh my word, it's blistering. He's set a session best in the first and third sectors, and it's a 124.171. That's a brilliant lap from Hani El Sabdi, and I don't think anyone's going to be able to challenge that. He's in the pits now. That's the end of the session for him because we have less than a minute left on the timer. And unless Keith Camilleri can get around and start a new lap in that time, he hasn't. He's pitted. So Camilleri's in the pits and won't go any quicker than his personal best either. Is at the front, followed by Camilleri. There's not much time left to go in the session as Alessandro Brecht makes a mistake and runs slightly over the grass. He's now losing out on his quickest lap, and he was up on it in the first sector. That means that all the drivers who want to set a quicker lap now have to get onto another lap. 15 seconds. The checkered flag comes out, and that's the end of the session.
Our Facebook.
Again, we've just had some more stream difficulties. We very much apologise for this. Of course, our aim... Go ahead.
We're back live. I'd like to apologize once again for this interruption in the live stream, but unfortunately we're facing some difficulties with our live stream today.
So our aim is to bring you the best possible live stream quality that we can, but of course technical issues sometimes get in the way of that. Unfortunately, that's the case to date, but we hope that that's not too much of a. But anyway, we are now going for about a 9-minute break. Probably a bit less than that before we go into the first of the two 15-lap races.
So very soon now I'm gonna pass you to one of our colleagues and one of the Sim Racing Malta directors, George, and he'll be having a short chat with you just about what we have, and obviously now we're gonna have a short break with adverts, and we'll be back with George.
Gigabit Internet issa f'Malta. Gawdi mill-Giga Power biss mal-Melita Flexi.
So welcome back to the live stream now, Joshua. So we'd like to welcome everybody back to the live stream today. We saw a fantastic qualification by Hani Al Sabti and Keith Camilleri. They were very close, and followed by Richard Schaffer, Falson Clinton, Brenton Tabone, Justin Baruki, Kevin Samut, Terence Gregg, and Alessandro Gregg, and Omar Barbara. Josef Kalleja and Josef Kalleja. We'd like to say that Josef Kalleja is not our tenor from Malta. So it's another one, Josef Kalleja. Joseph Kalle is a driver. He competes in time attack. So now we have 3 minutes left for the first race. We're going to have 15 laps with reverse grid, and on the second race,
So the timer has ticked down to 2.5 minutes to go in the race, and I'm very much looking forward to this one. Of course, to run down the grid order again, we have Al Sabdi on pole, followed by Camilleri, Schaefer, Falzen, Tabone, Baruki, Samut, Terence Gregg, Alessandro Gregg, and then it's Barbara and Kalea to round out the field. So 11 very nice looking 55 Cup cars lined up on the grid. In preference in this Ginetta Super Cup race.
yes, Joshua. Hope we'll see a good challenge between Hani Al Sabti and Keith Camilleri, and Richard Schaffer in the first 3 positions. Like we hope we have a good challenge between them, and
yeah, certainly they were very, very close in qualifying, so it would be not to see them have some sort of race in this race. And
yeah, hopefully we'd like to tell all the drivers to respect the first corner. Obviously, we're racing virtual, but the rules we respect that. We respect that if an accident happened in the first corner, we're not going to restart the race. So who's out will be out.
Absolutely, and that's why we have not elected to restart any sessions that do end up in chaos at first one, at turn one rather. Unfortunately, it's just, if that does happen, it's a shame, but it happens.
Yes, yes, Joshua. So the last 2 minutes, 20 seconds, and we're off to goes.
Great, and at this precise moment, I managed to disconnect from the server. Everything back in again, but hopefully I can get in before the actual race. Anyway, we have still
And actually, here we go. We're on the first corner. We see Hani Al Sabti in the first place, followed by Keith and Richard Schaefer in third position.
Sabdi leads the race. Camilleri has got away in second. In fact, the order looks very much how it started, in fact. Has there been a change at all? Oh yeah, Terence Grech is ahead of Kevin Stanley. And Alessandro Grech has had an off. So Alessandro Grech has had an off as he's entering the S's, and that's a big shame for him. So Alessandro Grech drops to the back of the order. But the order up front is still Al Sabdi from Camilleri, Schaefer, Falzen, and who is that? I believe that there's been a bit of a change up the front of the field. Falzen is not Brandon Tabone. I believe it's Justin Barucki, in fact. So Barucki and Tabone have swapped places for 5th position. Barucchi now has that position. Has a comfortable opening lead as we head through the chicane of corners 10A and 10B for the first time here. Now as we round the final corner, is after this opening lap of the race. There's actually a car stopped on the inside of the... Well, it's mine. How's that got onto the track? Whatever. How do I get that off the track? Is that my fault? That I automatically load it up as on the grid and has actually taken out a driver. That is very, very disappointing. My car is now stopped on the grid. Do I have to, if I go drive and put it back to the pits? I tried to do that before the race actually started. Oh, it's worked now, good, because that's what kicked me out of the server. I did that and everything crashed. So it must have been that as I loaded back in again, it was put on the track. Now, who hit that? Because that is a big shame for them. And I very much apologise that had to have happened. That was Clinton Falzen, who of course would have come around the final corner to just...
So we're gonna take a decision here. Unfortunately, due to this problem with your disconnection, we're gonna restart the race.
That is a very, very good idea. Because it was because of my disconnection. When I rejoined the race, the car was put back onto the track, and obviously I didn't notice and no one else noticed, and as a result it was left on the road and Clinton Falzen hit it, which is a big, big shame, and I'm certainly going to apologise to Clinton for that after the race. But anyway, we are going for a red flag and a restart. So the first red flag and restart in sim racing walk to history, because of course we usually don't agree with that sort of thing, but in extreme cases such as this, it is unfortunately what needs to happen. And who is that putt sideways? Whoever they are, they've got going again. I'm going to try to... The thing is, I can't... It's so... on the grid, and I can't get my car to go back to the pits.
Yes, obviously we need just to leave the start of the race. Following the start of the race, you can go back to pits.
All right, that's never happened before. Usually my car's just been off the grid when it started. I mean, I've never had to go back to the pits for the... like that, but okay, well, it appears that that's the way it's happening today, and unfortunately it ended in tears the first time around, but I'll remember it this time around, and there shouldn't be any silly accidents this time. So get a proper race in this time.
So unfortunately, these are things that can happen when you're live. And obviously we take the right decision. As we said, we don't restart races for any accidents, which obviously don't start. But in such case where the car of one of our cars, actually of the commentator, remained on grid and obviously created an accident for one of our drivers, I think it was not fair. So we just took the decision to restart the race in this case. So it's a casual race, you know what I mean? And it's like we can move on and take such decisions. So we're off for a few seconds now, some time for advertising for our sponsors, and we'll be back soon with the beginning of the race.
Gigabit Internet issa f'Malta. Gawdi mill-Giga Power biss mal-Malta Flexi.
So we're back. So, sorry for the disconnection, for this technical that we had to restart the race. We'll soon be back in 4 minutes.
Auto driver is getting a bit impatient at that, so another 10 minutes for the restart. But that's happens sometimes when we're live.
Yes, Joshua. We gave them some breaks, some to do, some drinks and some stuff.
Hopefully the right kind of drinks. We don't want them going all weird at the start of the race. But so about 3 minutes until we find out who's been drinking what, and until the race gets going for the first of our two 15-lap races. Of course, we've already done one lap, but of course that will not be taken off the laps that we'll end up having to do be in some other series.
No, George. We have to do all the 15 laps back again now because the session was restarted.
Said that very clearly, but that is what I meant. We're doing the full 15 laps. Some other racing series take laps off this restart if they've already had a start, but full 15 again. And then of course race 2 later on will be a reverse grid start, so it will be the top 10 drivers, I believe, from this race who will be in terms of the order, and that will be the order they start in for race 2. Of course, with only 12 cars actually starting this first race, it means that if you finish the race where you are, you have a very high chance of being able to start from the reverse grid pole. So something that going to see a lot of. So the order again is Al Sabdi starting right from the front, followed by Camilleri, Falzen, Tabone, Maruki, Semut, Terence Grech, I believe, followed by Alessandro Grech, Justin Maruki, who's... I'm having to look at them all from their abbreviations on the left side of the screen. Now that will be... BA... Forgotten someone's name, obviously, but anyway, then it's Kalea in 11th. Until this race gets underway and we can get going for this
We hope that now our commentator will go back to pits in time.
I certainly won't be making that mistake again. So here come the lights. When they all go out, we will be racing. Away we go for the Ginetta Super Cup G55. Al Sabdi gets a good start, followed by Camilleri. And Camilleri is actually going to come under attack from Richard Schaefer as we head towards turn 1 here. And he will be going around the outside, and that will give Camilleri the ideal line, and Camilleri keeps second there. Al Sabdi leads from Camilleri, Schaefer, Falzen, Tabon, Maruki, Sami. That's the grid order, rather. And Terence Grech is off. So Terence Grech is off, and he's taken someone with him. Who else is off? Is it Joseph Kalea? It is indeed. So Joseph Kalea and Terence Grech both went off at turn 1 there for whatever reason. And is Camilleri, or has he been demoted by Richard Schaefer? No, not quite. So Schaefer certainly had a look at him, but Camilleri is still in second place. is no longer Clinton Falzen, who is in 4th place. Sure, but Alessandro Grech has been involved in the incidents as well, because he's a long way behind the rest of the field as well. The order as we head down this back straight, because with the slipstreaming in effect, there might well be a move that is possibly attempted here, if everyone's already a bit spread out as we went onto that back straight there. Don't really rely on aerodynamic grip that much. It's all about the mechanical grip with these effectively GT4 cars, and the gap for the lead is over a second now. It's 1.043 for Al Sabdi from Camilleri, and then behind them are Richard Schaefer, Justin Barucchi, Brandon Tabo, Kevin Samut, Clinton Falzen, Omar Barbara, Alessandro Grech, Terence Grech is a long way behind the rest after his incident, as well as Josef Kalea is. That's the order after lap 1, and really the best battle highest up the field at this precise point in time will be the one for second between Keith Camilleri and Richard Schaefer. So that's where I'm looking at this precise point in time. They were 6/10 apart as they came across the start-finish straight. However, Camilleri has cleared off from Schaefer a bit, and he's actually much closer to Al Sabdi than he was on the previous lap. So Camilleri and Al Sabdi are definitely going to, Camilleri is definitely thinking about going for Al Sabdi and possibly getting the lead of this race, either at the end of this lap or at the on another. It doesn't look as if he's going to be quite close enough at the end of this lap. He's just sort of setting himself up for any possible mistakes that Al Sabdi might make. Abdi, who leads it as we're going to cross the start-finish line this time through. But will the gap be over a second still? It is not. It's come down to 6/10 of a second. So the battle for the lead well and truly back on here after a disappointing first lap from Camilleri as he had to defend from Schaefer. But now he's been released from Schaefer and he can full-on attack Al Sabdi again. So how close can he get on this time around? Can he get close enough to Al Sabdi down the back straight? The slipstream has already proven not to be quite as effective as I thought it would be. Lots of catching really is on the straights. Sabdi is that he's actually gone about 5/10, so half a second quicker than Camilleri in the first section in terms of the time. So that the gap will probably be about 1.1 seconds as we head out onto the back straight now. So let's see what Camilleri can do. He will probably not be close enough to adequately slipstream Al Sabdi here. So it looks as if Al Sabdi might well have got a good gap from Keith Camilleri behind. It will be about the gap as we cross the line this time around.
So actually we have contact actually, which I think will under investigation. It was at the beginning between Josef Kalea and Terence Grech.
Yes, we saw those two, of course, off the road and in the barrier. So there was some contact between Terence Grech and Josef Kalea. So contact there, which is a shame, but going to be judging that right as we speak. The gap for the lead, incidentally, was 1.5 seconds as we crossed the start-finish line that time through. And actually, the closest battle on track is that between Brandon Tabo and Kevin Samut, and then Clinton Falzen is not far behind Samut at all. So, rather, Tabo, Samut and Falzen in that order are 5th place, although sort of sizing each other up at this precise point. The slipstream, let's see who can get closer to who. Abdi is properly clearing off at the front of the order. He's set a fastest sector of the race so far in both sectors 1 and sector 2. So Al Sabdi is properly flying at the front here and just clearing away from the rest of the pack, as I thought he might do Oh, as Brennan Tabone's made a slight mistake and he's gone over the grass. And now Samut took a look at the inside of the final corner, but of course the final corner is too fast to go through on the inside. Place for now, but it was looking close. And now Falzon dives through into sixth. So Falzon dives through into sixth as Samut was held up trying to get past the bone, and now has actually lost Samut a place. So the driver who looked as if he was going to be attacking has now been attacked and has been passed by Clinton Falzon at turn 1 with a very good dive up the inside from Clinton Falzon. The gap to the lead is 2.4 seconds, so that has really come out. And Hani Al Sabdi is properly clearing away and flying at the front of the order. His best lap so far is only about 9/10 of a second slower than his best lap in qualifying, and he's on pretty much full race fuel at this point. So incredible lap from Hani Al Sabdi, an incredible pace, because he is absolutely going for this. This race is not for points. Don't be fooled into thinking that that these drivers don't want the win and they don't treat it respect. As Samut takes another look at Falzon outside, going down into the chicane, but no opportunity to overtake just yet. These two is as we cross the line this time, it's about 0.6 of a second, with Falzon ahead. To the second rather. Oh, that's a spin! Oh dear! And two cars are going off. What? Who are they? Omar Barbara and Kevin Samut. So it looks as if Samut started to lose control of the car, and Barbara went off, possibly in avoidance. There might have been slight contact. I wasn't entirely sure, but Samut, it looks as if he started to sort of weave mid-corner, sort of lost the rear end, and Barbara went off in avoidance, but has also got through. Did Alessandro Grech get past either of them? Yes, he did. So Alessandro Grech now is up into 7th position. He got past both of them, followed by Omar Barbara in 8th rather, and Kevin Samut in 9th, and Terence Grech is still behind both of them after his incident on the opening lap. And I wouldn't be surprised to hear that there's another steward inquiry going on, if indeed there was more contact between Samut and Barbara, but I don't think there was really much they could do about that, because of course Samut just started to lose his rear end mid-corner, and Barbara in avoidance, and to be honest, it wasn't overtake or dodgy move or anything like that. I think it was just an unfortunate situation for Omar Barbara, who had to then duck off the track to avoid the spinning car.
So actually what we've seen, it was actually a race incident. So we saw Kevin Samut lose the car from the backhand, as you said very rightly earlier, and Omar Barbara tried to avoid him, but unfortunately he went off the grass.
Yeah, that's very much what I thought had happened, and that unfortunately has actually spread out our last close fight on the track at this precise point in time. So in those gaps back down again, and for the guys behind, they will be very much hungry for a better result, because of course, for example, with Omar Barbara and Kevin Samut, he on pace should be about 2 positions higher, possibly 3. Terence Grech as well was involved in an accident in the first lap, and for these guys it's all about finding enough pace to back up to the people that on pace they should be ahead of. Just trying to make the most from a race that has already gone slightly downhill here. Let's see what the gaps are like this time around. So the gap to first is about 3.8 seconds, so that's coming out and out. Gap for fourth is quite close, as is the gap for fifth. That's Baruki, Tabone, Falzon, each running about 2 seconds behind each other on track. Still not really close. We have and Grech a long way behind the rest of the field after their various incidents. To the race up, we have Al Sabdi leading from Camilleri, Schaefer, Baruki, Tabone, Falzent, Grech, Barbara, Samut, the other Grech, that's Terence Grech, and then Kalea. So that is the in the race here. It appears that we have indeed lost a car because, of course, we did have 12 at one point in qualifying, and I'm not entirely sure who that is, but unfortunately we have lost one of the cars. Also, the car, I forgot that abbreviated to BAR on the grid was Omar Barbara, of course. I don't know why I forgot that, so definite apologies there. But these are the 11 cars in the race. So after laps, I think we have 7 laps remaining, so we're about just over halfway through this race so far. Al Sabti leading from Camilleri, Schaefer, Baruki, and Falzen. In this order at the precise point in time, but Falzen is actually being pushed now by Brandon Tabone. So Tabone has caught up, or did catch up, to about 4 tenths behind Clinton Falzen as they were going down towards turn 1 that time through. And that indicates that Tabone would have been right on Falzen's gearbox as they went across the start-finish line, but has dropped back in the corners here. But the dirty air that Falzen's car is creating up ahead, of course, Tabone is forced to endure all of that turbulent air being kicked up by Clinton Falzen's car. Although on this straight here, that would be a thing for him, because turbulent air is actually less dense than the air around it, so it's not like getting whacked in the face with a wall of air like it would be if you were just going along without another car in front of you. The car ahead acts as a windbreak. Car behind to accelerate along with less drag. Gap did come out that lap to about 1.6 seconds, so it appears that Clinton Falzen's lap was about a second faster than Brandon Tabone's, as Hani Al Sabdi sets another purple sector time. That's his in sector 2. Absolutely flying here. Now to over 5 seconds. Of course, his win. Yeah.
It seems that Hani Al Sabti had some kind of accident, and we have what we see now, Keith Camilleri on the first place, followed by Richard Schaefer, and Hani Al Sabti is in 3rd place.
Kirsten, just as I said that Hani Al Sabti was building out a good lead, I found out he's not even leading anymore. That's very dramatic, because our quickest driver in the pack, Hani Al Sabti, has now dropped down to 3rd position. He's just behind Richard Schaefer, and he will definitely be wanting to get back past. But that means that Keith Camilleri, our top Maltese driver, is also the top driver in the race now, leading it around. And to Hani Al Sabti, I wonder if someone has some sort of replay of that. But anyway, Keith Camilleri, you see the timing sheet confirm that as he crosses the line now, with 5 laps of the race remaining, leads the race. And that's dreadfully disappointing for Hani Al Sabti. But Al Sabti's now, alongside Richard Schaefer for 2nd place. So all of a sudden, this race has suddenly kicked up a lot of excitement, as Al Sabti has to settle the 3rd for now, actually, as Schaefer defends it well through turn 1. And it's still Camilleri from Schaefer, and then it's Al Sabti, Baruki, and Falzen. Those are the top 5. He's all over the rear end of Richard Schaefer, attempting to get back into 2nd place to at least salvage some sort of result from this race. I mean, he's in 3rd at the moment, which would be a podium and a good result, but certainly not a good result after being quickest in practice, quickest in qualifying, and for leading the race for so long. Under Richard Schaefer's gearbox as we head out onto the back straight now, so he is definitely going to have an attack here, I'm sure of it. Watch him in the slipstream. He's going to duck out at any point. There he goes, at about half the distance in the straight. Now he's going to have to hold alongside him, try to get past him even before the corner, but there's nothing else he can do except brake late, and there he goes. Hani Al Sabti reclaims 2nd place and does get it slowed in time for the corner. So it's now Camilleri from Al Sabdi. Schaefer's on the grass there. And Al Sabdi actually went over the inside grass slightly. But now Camilleri, Al Sabdi and Schaefer. But Schaefer might well challenge again for second into turn 1. He doesn't get through. Schaefer had a slight look at Al Sabdi, but he's just misjudged his route around the corner, and he runs over the grass and over the gravel and gets all sorts of dirt and muck on his tyres, and that's going to cause all sorts of handling issues for him for the next few corners, and he's going to have to be careful that he doesn't drop back too much to Justin Baruki behind him. Now, did I hear someone trying to speak in the call as well? Okay, so Al Sabdi and Schaefer are now in that order for... Well, to be honest, it really didn't take Al Sabdi that long to get back past Schaefer. I still don't know the extent of the incident that Al Sabdi did indeed have. He doesn't appear to have any damage from what I can see as he's going down the straight. The steering is perfectly straight. So whatever happened, it wasn't a very big incident, and he is still running in second position. He did lose the lead from that, so it's a big incident in terms of the actual race order, as Falzon and Tabone are very close, heading down the back straight as well. So there are a couple of battles going on the track now. And the gap for the lead is 4.5 seconds. So let's watch that in the last 3 laps of the race. There was a time actually where Al Sabdi was gaining it, or was pulling away by about a second a lap. So if he can do the same thing again, if they can set the same relative laps, Camilleri and Al Sabdi, and then Camilleri makes a mistake or something like that, Al Sabdi could still win this race. I often say that if you can finish second in the race, you can win it, because all it takes is one big mistake from the guy ahead, and you're the leader. So you can win, and Al Sabdi is running second. Did I just hear... I had a very weird engine note there. I have a feeling that someone's had a... somewhere. No, looks like everyone's fine, so I don't know what I was hearing there. Maybe someone ran over the grass very, very briefly. Keeping my eye on now is the one for 5th position between Clinton Falzon and Brandon Tabone, because these two are about 7/10 of a second apart and heading onto a straight. So there's about to be the slipstream effect coming into play. This is the wind block effect I was talking about just now, which allows the second place driver just to speed up unnaturally to what they otherwise compared to the speed they would otherwise be going if there wasn't a driver in front of them. And Tabone, young Falzon on that straight, but couldn't quite get close enough there. The lead has actually stayed exactly the same at 4.6 seconds. So obviously has not come down on that last lap as I expected it would. So I'm out by a 10th of a second. So it's pretty much the same. Falzon and Tabone on that lap was still less than half a second. So these two are still very close and definitely still in a proper battle. And if Falzon makes a single error, I mean, we've seen quite a few errors in this race so far from various different drivers, putting wheels over the grass so far. If that does happen to Clinton Falzon, Brandon Tabone is going to be right on him. This is a corner where it often happens, so let's see if Falzon gets around that cleanly. He does indeed, as they both do. A lot less curb there than they did in qualifying, because they are so intent on keeping it on the road and in tip-top condition. Picked up in this race hurts you for the rest of the race by about 6/10, but with just 1 lap of the race remaining. We are on the final lap, and that will not be enough from Hani Al Sabdi so long as Keith Camilleri can hold it together and keep it on the road. So Keith Camilleri only has another go, and then he will be crowned this one. The gap between Falzon and Tabone was about 8/10 of a second that time round, so they are still close in terms of the order. And on the final lap, Omar Barber is actually now being caught by Kevin Samut. So the two drivers who who were involved in a first corner accident earlier in this race are closing together again, as of course Samut had a spin and Barber went off in avoidance. And pretty much together on track as well, about 8/10 apart. But down the back straight heads Keith Camilleri on the final time in this race. Lucky that Aniel Sabdi had the off that he did have. Keith Camilleri still driver in this race. Not the quickest, because Al Sabdi has set quickest lap, I believe, but Keith Camilleri nonetheless rounds the final corner and crosses the line to take the win. So Keith Camilleri wins the race. Race 1 at Road America by 3.341 seconds from Hani Al Sabdi. 3 or 4 more laps and Al Sabdi could have been right on him there. Richard Schaefer finishes third to round out the podium. Good race from him. Justin Baruki finishes fourth, followed by Clinton Falzon and Brandon Tavone. So Falzon does well to hold off Tavone by about 3 or 4/10 of a second there. Sandro Grech, who crosses the line next in 7th position. There he goes. And 8th is going to be Omar Barbara, holding off Kevin Samut by about 8/10 of a second. So the gap was pretty much what it was on the lap before. And Joseph Clare has already crossed the line in 11th, but 10th place, of course, because Clare was a lap down, going to go to Terence Grech, who is just rounding the final 2 corners now. Just right-handers for him to go. It's very quick in a single seater, I should point out. Finishes in the Ginetta G55 Super Cup. So that was that. Camilleri for the win. Shame that Hani Al Sabdi had an unknown off. Couple of incidents in that race, one at the start and one a few laps later between Samut and Barbara. But anyway, that was race 1, and we are now going to have about a break again while I catch my voice again before we go in for race 2 with a reverse break.
So we saw actually quite an exciting race now, where we saw also Hani Al Sabti losing his first place, which he kept quite for a long time during this race, due to obviously an error and going a little bit off track. Now in like 1 minute 40 seconds, we're gonna start with the second race with a reverse grid. And we'll see the outcome of this race. We'll definitely see an exciting race where the fastest drivers of the first race will start at the back. Thus, they have to make their way through to gain as much places as possible.
I've just found out that Clinton Falzon, who of course lost 4th place off the start, 5th place off the start, and then gained it back due to an incident, I believe. He lights at the start, so the lights weren't showing up on his screen, and hopefully that can be sorted out for race 2. I don't know if anyone else had that issue, but we have about 46 seconds to go before we're loaded into another waiting time of about 2 minutes, because I don't see the reverse grid yet. So having our brief break from Keith Camilleri there, and the fastest lap did indeed go to Hani Al Sabti.
We're going in. Next race is going to start now in 15 seconds.
Well, where's the reverse grid?
It's coming, all right. It's very soon.
So we haven't got the reverse grid yet, but oh, there we go. So yeah, we are going into another countdown. So the race will start in about Still haven't got the reverse grid on the screen, but I think that's about to be sorted out now. I'll tell you an exact time until the start of the race when I have one, although it will be very, very short. It was that Hani Al-Sabdi's fastest lap in that race, which was the fastest lap of the race out of anyone, was actually in the 1:24s, which is the laps that they were setting in qualifying. Lap there that he set in the race from Hani Al-Sabdi. Utterly unbelievable. In the first race of the weekend here. The second race to beat Hani Al-Sabdi on a charge, because they're going to have to start a long way down the order. I believe that Terence Grech is going to get pole here if it is the top 10 who are reversed, and he'll be alongside Kevin Samut. And of course, Samut would have finished a lot higher up the order if he hadn't had to spin. No, they're reversing the whole grid. I remember now. So it's Josip Kalaya on pole at the start here, followed by Terence Grech, Kevin Samut, Omar Barbara, Alessandro Grech, Brandon Tabone, Clinton Falzon, Justin Baruki, Hani Al-Sabdi, Keith Camilleri.
So actually now we have a 10-minute countdown also, because obviously it cannot be changed in the server. If the first race there is a 10-minute countdown, it's the same for the second race. I'm gonna go for some adverts, and following that we'll be back.
Minutes.
Gigabit Internet issa f'Malta. Gawdi mill-Giga Power. Biss mal-Malita Flexi.
So we're back. in like 5 minutes, we're gonna start the second race with a reverse grid where we see Yosef Kalleja will be in the first place, Terence, followed by Terence Grek, Kevin Samut, Omar Barbara, Alessandro Grek, Brendan Tabone, Clinton Falson, Justin Baruki, Richard Schaefer, Hani Al-Sabti, and Keith Camilleri. We're definitely gonna see a very, very competitive race in the second race, as the fastest drivers in the first race now are at the back of the grid, and they have to make their way through to try to gain as much of positions as possible and possibly also grab the first position. So definitely we're gonna see a very, very good race now. So would like, as always, to thank our sponsors that support us through all our races. So thanks to Porsche, Continental Cars Limited, Melita, Textor, Extreme Power Sport, Sim News TV, World of Sim Racing, GT Omega Racing, Genesis, Husingveld, Fanatec, and Sparco. Those that have been following us earlier on, we've launched our next championship, which is a 3-hour endurance championship, for which there will be also a qualifying session, and the top 20 drivers will be eligible to take part in the 3-hour endurance championship. It will be held over 4 rounds, so we'll see the stamina of our drivers in these 4 rounds of this 3-hour endurance championship. So each race will consist of a qualifying session and obviously then a 3-hour race, which definitely will be an exciting one. We'll be using the GT3 cars for this endurance championship, so the drivers will be able to choose any GT3 car that will put available for them. Keep following us, and we'll be putting more information in the coming days on our Facebook and website.
Talking of Facebook, we have several people watching on Facebook right now, about 228. So that's a decent number. Several people congratulating Keith Camilleri after that first win from him, of course. Rachel Mifsud there says, I believe that means cheers. Fennick, who says super race, Keith, it very much was. Robert Vassallo, similar thing, well done, Keith. Kurt Camilleri and Hubert Camilleri, both supporting their fellow Camilleri as well. So a good race from Keith Camilleri, but Camilleri, of course, is starting 10th on the grid for this race too. So he has a lot of work to get into a similar position. Now, we saw at Sepang in the Formula Renault 3.5 race, dare I remind everyone of that race 1 was very much like the race 1 we just saw, with the top guys proving they're the top guys, and then all of a sudden race 2 turned into utter carnage as you had the less experienced guys at the front of the order with the reverse grid. And I don't think there was a single car that wasn't involved in an accident on that first lap. Now, I very much hope that doesn't happen again, but the chances are it might well do. We don't see a similar level of chaos here. A minute to go until the lights are going to go out, so really not long to wait now, and then we can finally get this race
So 30 seconds left now for the start of this second race, and soon we'll be off the grid.
So it's Joseph Kalaya at the front of the order. Who are second and third? I can't actually see them now that I'm on the track. At that side of the grid. But anyway, the lights are close to coming on. These lights go off. We will be racing with Joseph Kalaya at the front of the order, and this has got going. Kalaya, I believe, has got a pretty compared to Terence Grech, who is alongside him. But Grech, of course, will have the inside line down into turn one. There was an incident between these two first time around. There's an incident behind. Who's going off in all of that? Several cars. Brandon Tabone's off. Clinton Fowlson's off. Justin Barucki is facing the wrong way. And Camilleri both made it through, but it is actually still Kalaya leading the race, despite being several seconds off everyone else's pace in qualifying and then the last race. Kalaya leads it from Grech, and then Samit, Barbara, the other Grech, so Alessandro Grech is in fifth. The rest of the drivers who weren't affected by the incident, it's Richard Schaefer in sixth, followed by Hani Al-Sabdi and Keith Camilleri. And then Clinton Fowlson, Brandon Tabone, and Justin Barucki, who I believe were all involved in that opening incident. It looked as if it was just a case of 4 into 1 wouldn't go. And there was a lot of sorting out and drivers sliding sideways all over the track. But anyway, the battle for the lead is very much on. We have a big chain of cars going for the lead down this straight here, with Kalaya leading them so far, followed by Grech. And Kevin Samuels has got a mega run, and he's going to the outside, or the inside now, of both of them. So they're going 3 wide pretty much for the lead, but no change. So still it's Kalaya out in front, and Samuel was not able to gain either of the positions he went for then. And to be honest, Kalaya's done a very good job to hold everyone off on this first lap, as there's a bit of a sort out further behind as well. Someone gets forced slightly wide, and it's Kalaya, Grech, Samuel, Barbara, the other Grech, Alessandro Grech, Richard Schaefer, and then it's Camilleri, although Schaefer and Camilleri are already side by side. Of course, these two finished third and first at the last race. And actually, Al-Sabdi is right behind them. So this is the podium from last race, all having a titanic battle here. Place in the race. The lead is about to change, I feel, because Grech is all over the back of Joseph Kalaya here on the second lap of the race. And Kalaya, of course, I think his fastest lap was something like 2 seconds off everyone else's in the last race, but he's still holding off the rest of the pack. It's a very good job from him. And Alessandro Grech, I believe, has had some kind of... Has he? Yeah, he's dropped behind the rest of the pack. So Alessandro Grech has had a little incident somewhere. Hey, so that's a shame for Alessandro. Down the straight, we have another set of slipstreaming, as Samu is now trying to the outside of Grech, and Grech might well go to the inside of Kalaya. He doesn't, so they keep their positions this time through. That is quite incredible. I really wasn't expecting Joseph Kalaya to hold off Terence Grech for that entire lap, but that's entirely what he has done. Here's a head out to Schaefer, Camilleri, and Al-Sabdi. Well, they're still in that order, so that's still the order between those three. And oh, actually, no. And what we're seeing here is Alessandro Grech dropping down the order. In fact, there's only one driver behind him now, and that's Justin Barucki, who we saw facing backwards after turn 1. Gap for the lead actually came out on that lap there, as Joseph Kalaya actually pulled out from Terence Grech behind, and he has one of the fastest laps of the race so far. So by backing everyone else up and not letting anyone else through with some brilliant defence, Joseph Kalaya, who's a long way off the pace in qualifying, is leading the race quite legitimately. Now, Terence Grech is going for it, but he's not going to quite get close enough there. That's not the ideal line for the corner either, as someone else gets forced wide in the background. Is that Omar Barbara? Yes, it is. Barbara was challenging Samud and went slightly wide. Richard Schaefer's in that battle as well somewhere. There's a lot of cars trying to sort themselves out behind. But look at Grech now. Grech and Samud going for their customary slipstreaming session, and Grech is going to the right-hand side of Joseph Kalaya this time. Will this be able to work as Kalaya gets 2 wheels on the grass there? Later and goes for the lead. So Terence Grech finally takes the lead from Joseph Kalaya. Calais did a brilliant job to hold him off there. And now Grech leads the race from Calais and Kevin Samut. Now, when will Kevin Samut have an attack at Joseph Calais? Oh, he's going to the inside of turn 1. He's launched the attack and through he goes. So up into second now goes Kevin Samut. Hani Al Sabdi is up into fourth already. So Al Sabdi and Camilleri have both got past Schaefer, but Schaefer has got immediately back past Camilleri again. So it's now Al Sabdi fourth, Schaefer fifth, and Camilleri sixth. All changed all of a sudden. He's had some kind of accident because he's dropped back from the rest of the pack here. Place change, yes it has. So Kevin Samut has got second. Joseph Calais is down to third, but look at Hani Al Sabdi already attacking him, although not being able to get through at the first. Ooh, slight lockup there at the first of the two apexes at the top of the hill. Now he's trying to get a good run out of it. There's contact onto the grass goes Hani Al Sabdi, and I'm very surprised that Joseph Calais didn't get spun around there, because when a driver's front touches another's rear, it's usually the driver with the rear touching that goes for a spin, but luckily no one spun around there. Al Sabdi is challenging to the inside towards the chicane. If Calais can hold off Hani Al Sabdi here, that would be amazing. He's certainly trying it. He has the inside line, but Al Sabdi gets the power down better, and Al Sabdi takes third position now. So it's Grech, Calais, Al Sabdi, and Al Sabdi has done a brilliant job to make his way from first to third in less than 6 minutes. I'm into 10th to third in less than 6 minutes. He's actually made his way past Keith Camilleri, who won the last race, and Camilleri is actually quite struggling quite badly to get back past Richard Schaefer.
Yeah, he is actually right now. We see a nice battle between, I think Keith Camilleri now is going for the attack of Richard Schaefer.
Battle for the lead has closed up because, of course, with Calais out of the way, Samut and Grech are free to battle there side by side, heading up towards the top of the hill, and tight and defensive line, trying to hold off Kevin Samut. That would probably give Samut a better run, and he might well try to get the switchback in the undercut here, and he does get alongside Terence Grech as we head down the straight. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets ahead even before the corner here. So this is for the lead of the race, and Kevin Samut looks as if he's going to get it, although look in the mirrors because Hani Al Sabdi is looming large. Although who does get the place here? Kevin Samut gets it before the corner. Can Grech now outbreak Samut for the lead of the race? He's certainly given it a try, but it's not worked. So Samut does lead the race now from Grech, Al Sabdi, Calais, and Schaefer. So this race actually very, very entertaining, as race 2s always are, as the back of the field has to sort its way to the front, and that's what we're seeing now, with Samut just taking the lead on the last lap. But Grech is not giving it up. He is looking all over Kevin Samut again, and Hani Al Sabdi is right on the back of Terence Grech. So Al Sabdi be able to have an attack before long. Out on race 1 after an instant, so let's see if he can manage to salvage anything for race 2 here. Meanwhile, Richard Schaefer has got past Joseph Calais for 4th position, and Calais spun. So Calais, who started on pole position, has had a spin, as has someone else. Who was that? Someone was stopped on the road there. It was Clinton Falzon, who's now in the pit. So Clinton Falzon has teleported back to the pit, and that's a big shame. He was running in 7th, and I didn't see how that happened. Maybe Falzon and Calais' accidents were related, but that has put Keith Camilleri up into 5th position now. Tabone has also got past Calais, as has Grech and Barbara. It's very hard to tell. I have to tell you at the end of this lap, but still the lead battle rages between Grech and Samut.
So we saw actually an accident where we saw Joseph Calais, he spun, and it seems that he hit obviously Clinton Falzon. It's something that we'll be looking into later on during after the race.
Yeah, we saw a very similar sounding accident to that. And of course, when Terence Grech had a spin and was collected by Omar Barbarat, but of course there's really not much you can do about that when a driver, it's Kevin Samit actually, when a driver spins, not really a failed overtake or anything like that. But anyway, the battle for the lead is back on because Samut ran over the curb, as did Grech, and now Al Sabdi is going to have a go at attacking both of them. He's going around the outside of Terence Grech, and if this can work, it's going to be a very good move. He gets muscled out wide a bit, but he's going to have the slipstream from Kevin Samut ahead, as they both will have the varying bits of the straight. But it looks as if Al Sabdi's got the move. Will Grech be able to get them back with the slipstream? He's certainly giving it a try as we head down towards the chicane. Al Sabdi holds the inside line. Brakes slightly later, actually. There's a slight side-to-side contact, but everything's fair, and Al Sabdi does indeed take second place. So it's still Samit from Grech, Al Sabdi, Schaefer, and Camilleri now. To the race. So unfortunately, the driver who led the race for 2 laps, Joseph Calais, is out of the race on lap 7 here of the race, which is a big shame. Joseph Calais, he was running very, very well there. Of course, he was a long way off the pace of the others, but to hold the lead for that long, very, very impressive. To retire from the race. So that's our second retirement after Clinton Falzon. Of course, a retirement in this isn't a retirement for good. A driver can return from the pits on their current lap. They would have lost a lot of time. Now, the lead might be about to change because Al Sabdi has the inside line on Kevin Samit, and he gets the lead! Hadi Al Sabdi takes the lead into the top of the hill and out of the top of the hill. Look at Terence Grech as well, trying to attack Kevin Samut again for second place. So the lead has changed as Al Sabdi tries to at least get one win from this weekend. And of course, in terms of the overall win, so the points collected from the 2 races, that can be very good for Hani Al Sabdi rather, because a first and a second in that order are obviously a very good set of results to have for the win. Now, if in this and Camilleri is to finish second, I believe it would go down to a qualified pole as to who would win this, although I might be making things up. And that, of course, in that case, would go to Hani Al Sabdi. Sabdi leading by about 0.7 of a second from Kevin Samut. Terence Grech is only about 0.4 of a second behind Samut. Behind them by about 0.9 is Richard Schaefer. So the top 4 guys are still very, very close on track, only separated by about 2.1 seconds here. And anything could change in that top 4. It's a very close battle out in front. And look at second place rather. That well, look at Samut there, but it was more of a sort of move to show himself to than really to have a proper go. But Grech under pressure from Richard Schaefer behind, so he needs to be careful not to give away too many opportunities, because Schaefer is right on the back of him and is actually going for third now down into the chicane, but has to back out of it and settles for 4th place for now. How much longer can he hold him off? We've got about 6 laps of the race remaining now as we cross the line this time round. Yep, 6 laps remaining, and the gap for the lead is now 1.999, so basically 2 seconds, and that must have been a very, very quick lap from Al Sabdi. It was indeed. It was a session best, a race best rather, in the first and second sectors. So a very quick lap. It was indeed the fastest lap of the race so far. In fact, the top 3 drivers all set their fastest lap of the race last time round, with Samut and Grech also setting their fastest, and now Samut is very much under attack from Grech, because Grech's lap slower, never mind. Is even quicker in the first sector this time around. He is properly flying. He wants to get as big of a buffer ahead of the rest of the field as he possibly can, so that if he is to make a mistake, he doesn't get past like he did in the last race. There, he held up in 5th position actually. That will be a very good situation for Hani Al Sabdi, because now he can accelerate away in the lead. And Keith Camilleri, who is his main rival, will be getting held up and losing a lot of time. But he is side by side with Richard Schaefer now for fourth position. No, he isn't. That's Schaefer and Grech for third. So Grech keeps that on the inside for now, but that very nearly changed. Schaefer had a brief look at Grech, and it might be only a matter of time now before Schaefer has a full-on overtake. In fact, he's going for it into turn one this time. He's got the inside line, and Grech needs to be aware that he's there. He's not! Oh dear, Richard Schaefer clips Terence Grech, rather. Grech goes off. Schaefer does very well not to actually spin, and now Keith Camilleri inherits second. That's dramatic, because that means that Keith Camilleri is in second, and that means that in terms of overall results in the it'll be a kind of Battenberg pattern between Al Sabdi and Camilleri, as if they finish like that, it'll be Al Sabdi wins race 2, followed by Camilleri. Camilleri has won race 1, followed by Al Sabdi. So how they would decide the overall win in that, then that would be very nice. I think it would go down to pole, wouldn't it? The
In that case, yes, sure. We'll go back to pole, and if Keith Camilleri finishes second, then obviously, as we have Hani Al Safri on pole, will be then the winner of the race.
Oh yeah, and that means that, well, Keith Camilleri effectively needs to win this race now, because that is unless Hani Al Sabdi is down several places. But Keith Camilleri is actually in third. I missed the fact that Kevin Samut made it through okay. So Samut is in second, Camilleri is in third, and that would give Al Sabdi the outright win in terms of points as well as just in terms of countback. But Al Sabdi is leading it now, and he is ahead of Samut, Camilleri, Grech, and Schaefer. Those are the top 5 in this race at this point in time. 9 cars still remaining in this race. And it's last race, but unfortunately we've had 2 so far here with Clinton Falson and Joseph Collère. Driver is getting caught out in various accidents, which is a shame. Not various accidents. Whether Hani Al Sabdi can bring it home safely. Didn't do in race 1, and that's why he didn't win race 1. But he's certainly going for it in a lot faster than anyone else is here. From him in sector 3.
The Siki now, which is just side by side.
Oh yeah, second place is side by side, and Camilleri gets it. Second place, so he dives to the inside of turn 1 for second place, and he's got it. So Camilleri is now up into the position where they would tie on points for the overall win, Al Sabdi and Camilleri, but back to pole position. And in that case, Al Sabdi would get the overall win. So, in this case, Keith Camilleri needs to make up one more position somehow. He needs Al Sabdi to make an error, or he needs to somehow get a sudden burst of speed. Sabdi in the last 3 laps of the race, which to happen without a mistake from Hani Al Sabdi. So it's all down to what Al Sabdi can do now, and if he can bring the car home safely, Al Sabdi will be the race. The overall race winner of the 2 races that was the winner of this event championship as such, but there are points collected from the 2 races, not to go towards a championship. They are added up to work out who is the overall winner of these races. Of course, also had 2 races. Jason Muscat won overall, added up, despite the fact he was actually quite a long way down the order in race 1. It was just the fact that he won race 2, and his other rivals were all involved in the first lap incidents. Anyway, Hani Al Sabdi looking in very good position here, and he's actually pulled out 0.2 of a second from Keith Camilleri behind. So Camilleri on Al Sabdi making an error here. Otherwise, the win is very much going to Hani Al Sabdi. As we have 2 laps remaining, it's Al Sabdi leading from Camilleri, Samut, Grech, Schaefer, the other Grech, Alessandro Grech, Tavone, Baruki, and Barbara, and that is the order here. Really, there aren't that many battles going on. Well, there aren't really any battles going on in circuit at the moment. It's just all about bringing the car home in one piece. As Al Sabdi is certainly not taking it carefully at all. He set a race best in Sector 1, in Sector 2 as well, and a personal best in Sector 3. That's the fastest lap of the race so far from Hani Al Sabdi. So he is certainly still flying here at Road Atlanta, and he pulls the gap out to 6.8 seconds as we head on to the final lap of the race here. So Al Sabdi, all he needs to do now is bring it round the last few laps of the race. Also, it's closing up the fourth between Grech and Schaefer. So Schaefer is definitely going for fourth place here, after he did actually have it in the bag earlier, and then of course he had a wiggle and a spin going into turn 1 and lost out on it to the driver. He's now ahead of them. Of course, Schaefer was running second, I believe. Oh, down the back straight for the final time now. We have and Al Sabdi has been utterly dominant, apart from in race 1 where he had an off and ended up losing that win. But Hani Al Sabdi, quickest in qualifying, just as we saw in the Porsche Cup race the other day. Through the final few corners, only right-handers to go now for Hani Al Sabdi as he exits the final corner, and Hani Al Sabdi wins this race and wins it overall. So a brilliant domination from Hani Al Sabdi to win race after the disappointment of race 1. Camilleri finishes second and equals Al Sabdi on points. Big shout out to Camilleri and his amazing performance today, but was not quite able to win due to being lost. It's third position and a good podium for him. Richard Schaefer is 4th, Terence Grech is 5th, Alessandro Grech is 6th. So Schaefer did indeed get Grech on the last lap there. Brennan Tabone is 7th. Justin Baruki is going to cross the line in 8th. Barbara in 9th position, and then we had the 2 retirements of Joseph Kalaya and Clinton Fowles.
So actually now we'll go for a short break, a 2-minute break until we get the drivers for a short interview. And here we're back for the interviews with our drivers. I'm just trying to chase Hani Al Sabti so that I'll also get him in.
Okay, well, let's start from race one, I suppose, with Keith Camilleri. So, Keith, can you hear me properly?
Yes.
So, winner of race one, very well done for that. But let's start with qualifying. Times where you were getting very, very close to Hani. Did you have any idea then that the overall victory in terms of the points would actually come down to qualifying?
Sorry, I didn't hear you quite well. The last question.
The overall result, so the 2 points added up in the race were equal, so it went down to qualifying. Are you that you lost out to qualifying?
I didn't know. I know just now.
Anyway, race one. Talk us through that race for a start. Surely that was a consolation.
No, race one was quite well for me. I was chasing Honey, but he was quite quick. So unlucky for him, he got the spin, and it was just an easy win for me then.
Did you see what happened to Tanya Sabdi? Because I don't think I did.
I think he went straight in the blind corner, the one that you go like an uphill before the straight.
Makes sense, right? And race two. We heard from Hania afterwards that that part of the grid was a bit manic a lot of the time. How was race two for you?
Race two was not so good for me. I had a lot of damage on the car. I was getting hit quite a lot, and there was one time I missed the braking before the chicane, and I had to go over the asphalt, and I lost quite some time. But yeah, overall came second. Not that bad.
Very good result for you. A first and a second, and also second in qualifying. Certainly nothing to be sniffed at. Also, in our race two winner, and in fact, overall winner, Hani Al-Sabti. Can you hear me properly, Hani?
Yeah, I can.
I've just asked the same question to Keith. Are you aware that because the race results were the same between you and Keith, the actual overall result went back to qualifying, so you got it by something like a tenth of a second.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I thought the gap in the race will eventually will decide who will win. So the gap from this first race from first to second, and then in the second race first to second. That's why I made sure, like in the second race, the gap was bigger than the first one.
So that's why you were pushing so hard. That makes sense actually, because you were setting purple sector times the whole way through that race too. I bet it felt quite an edge at times.
It was good. I mean, I made a stupid mistake in the first race. Those curbs, the high curbs in the second sector. If you hit the first one, you'll get a chain reaction, and then you hit the first one, the second one, the third one, and the fourth one will make you fly. And that happened to me, so I just couldn't catch it anymore and spun out.
Yeah, big shame about race one, but you certainly recovered it for race two. You said there was a bit of sort of bumping, banging, and late defensive moves going on at that part of the field. What was that like?
Well, I usually I don't know these guys. This is the first time I'm starting from the back and racing with them. And then the Porsche Cup I started at the front and I didn't need to pedal, but and this one here you need to pedal if you with the reverse grip, of course. And yeah, you get to know the guys when you race with them. And today it was like an eye opener because I didn't expect them to like make more moves during the fencing. So when you start to brake, both of two guys braking, you shouldn't do like two moves. Don't be for stopping and do two moves on the guy next to you because it will just crash us both out and we will lose time. So yeah, that was the only thing really.
Understandable, but you still won race 2 and overall, so definite congratulations for that.
Yeah, thanks.
Also in here we have Richard Schaefer. Richard, can you hear us? Hear me properly?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Really good. So how did your race weekend go? I think you got a podium, didn't you?
Taking both race results, I should have third place. Yeah. Well, talking about the qualifying, I really couldn't match the pace out in front. Hani and Keith were going. Well done to those. Then the first race went really good, I think. My pace was there. I just couldn't quite get it together. Also, when Hani made his mistake, I shortly was in second position, but made some stupid mistakes, so I just had to let him go. And in the second race, just as Hani said, there was much defending. Also, you don't know the guys that you're racing with. You don't know how they are defending. And I got very much contact throughout the race. Also had damage to the car, which wasn't helping my pace either. And then I made a stupid mistake trying to overtake Terence Gregg, I think it was. And we crashed both. So yeah, second race wasn't that good.
Yeah, we saw you had a bit of a spin. Although, was there an extra bit of contact on the last lap? I think you said something about that after the race.
On the last lap, there was no contact. On the last lap, there was a clean overtake on Terence then, but it was like lap 11 or 12 where I tried to overtake him into the first corner, but I touched him and then we both spun.
Okay, thanks for that. And I believe that is the last of the interviews. Do we have any more, or is that the end?
No, that is actually the last interview, as you well said. Now we'll have a look into the results and we'll have a look into some possible complaints we received from our drivers regarding some incidents. And it's important, as we always said to the drivers, so that they record their own demos and their own race, so that if there is anything they would like to point to us for us to investigate, they can send us the reference and we'll definitely look into it. As we actually already started receiving some messages and we're waiting for to investigate the matters further. Would like to thank everybody, thank also all the drivers for being with us and all our followers on Facebook, and like to thank you, Joshua, as always, for your commentary, very good commentary throughout the race. And from all of us here, Justin, George, Gilmore, and myself, would like to thank everybody. Hello there. And would like
Includes
to
our amazing sponsors as well, who are Sim News TV. We have Porsche. Do you want to read out the rest? I can't actually see a few of those names.
Sure. Our sponsors, would like to thank our sponsors, which are Sim News TV, World of Sim Racing, Porsche, Continental Cars Limited, Melita, Textor, Extreme Power Sport, GT Omega, Genesis, Husingveld, Fanatec, and Sparco.
Like it, you're getting quite good at reading out the sponsors. That's getting quite fluent. Right. Anyway, so as we've said, that is the end of the broadcast for today. We're glad that you could join us. Is there going to be another? I don't think we know if there's going to be another casual race before the next Porsche race. Is there? But the next confirmed.
Yeah, sure. We'll be having a next casual race. Obviously, the dates will be published very soon, but because we don't know the right date yet, then obviously there is the Porsche Cup, and we encourage everybody to follow us with the news now that we'll be posting about the endurance race.
Yes, keep your eyes open for that, as well as the of course the next casual race on the Sim Racing Malta calendar. You can find that at simracingmalta.com. And the next race that I know has been confirmed is the next round of the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup, which will see Hani Al Sabdi coming back to defend his championship lead, and that will be on the 23rd of February. So join us then, or for any events that will happen before it, and I'll see you then, I suppose.
Thank you.
Gigabit Internet issa f'Malta. Gawdi mill-Giga Power. Biss mal-Malita Flexi.